Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Israel Brief with me, Rolene Marks, brought to you by Lay of the Land, doing it Monday to Thursday with your headlines fresh off the press in Israel and on to your devices. And just a reminder, you can check out our original written content on our website at www.layoftheland.online. There's an article from me on about how progressives are trying to disrupt the Abraham Accords. We're also on Facebook. Please join our growing community by liking us or following us. And don't forget to share our content. We're at Lottel's site on Facebook. And our YouTube channel is, of course, the Israel Brief. And if you like our content, please consider subscribing by clicking on the big red subscribe button, liking and sharing what you see. And we are on Twitter at Lay of the Land 5. But let's get into those top stories. And we begin with the story of the moment, which of course is the ongoing crisis between Russia and the Ukraine. So just to update you, Israel has completed moving its embassy and staff from the capital Kiev to Lvov. Meanwhile, earlier today, the Ukraine began calling up reserve forces between the ages of 18 to 60. Russia has also evacuated their diplomatic staff. Now, the United States, Canada, the United Kingdom, France, Germany, and other EU states have started to impose sanctions on Russia. And Israel earlier today, in fact, just moments ago, released their statement on the crisis. The spokesman Lior Hayat for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs said that Israel recognizes the sovereignty of the Ukraine in the Eastern Territories and are concerned about what is happening in the East. Israel is prepared to offer humanitarian aid and assist when and if needed. And we are prepared, if needed, to help broker a diplomatic solution to the crisis. At no point during Israel's statement was Russia mentioned. And of course, many would be asking, why not? Israel is in a very precarious position, having been or is an ally to both Russia and the Ukraine. But also, Russia is very important for Israel strategically with helping to keep Syria and various terror entities in Syria under control, as well as to push back the encroaching hegemony of Iran. And of course, we will continue to bring you updates on the crisis right here on the Israel Brief. Meanwhile, today, addressing the University Israel Climate Change Conference, our President Isaac Herzog mentioned publicly for the first time that he will be off to Turkey next month. He will also be visiting Greece and Cyprus. Now, addressing the issues around climate change, and of course the Middle East faces some serious challenges. We face water shortage, temperatures rising, deforestation and all the rest. But the president spoke about his vision of a renewable Middle East. He says he sees a Middle East where we will have allies like Israel, Jordan, Egypt, Bahrain, the United Arab Emirates, Morocco, all cooperating on projects. But of course, he would love to bring in other countries such as Saudi Arabia, as well as our Palestinian neighbors. And of course, it's something we all want in the Middle East, along with peace. Meanwhile, a huge diplomatic or Congressional Congress delegation is in Israel at the moment from both the Republican and Democratic parties. The congressmen and women are meeting with various leaders. They have met with Prime Minister Bennett and reiterated their support for a safe and secure Israel and recognized the important ally to the United States that Israel is. Prime Minister Bennett thanked them for the support and also thanked them for the continued support and financing of the very important Iron Dome systems. The delegation have also met with Palestinian Authority Prime Minister Mohammed Shtayyeh. Shtayyeh spoke about the situation vis-a-vis a two-state solution and also appealed to the congressmen and women to ensure that a U.S. consulate is opened in Jerusalem. And just a reminder that this cannot happen without the expressed permission of Israel. And our last story poses an important question. If you think you have the moves like Jagger, you'll be pleased to know that rock band Maroon 5 will be playing in Israel at the big Park Hayakon at the beginning of May. Yes, I went there. I said moves like Jagger, but hey, it's too irresistible, so why not? So this is the first of the big concerts that we should be seeing for the summer. Israel is always the place to be if you want a rockin' good time during our wonderful, albeit sweltering summer. And I think bookings have opened for tickets, so make sure that if you want to be there to get your Maroon 5 groove on. I went there as well. What can I say? I'm a fan. Make sure that you book today. And all I can say is that it's an epic BDS fail, and no cultural boycott against Israel will stop some of the world's biggest bands from making sure that Israelis continue the party. And I'll continue tomorrow with those top stories from Israel on the Israel Brief, so don't forget to tune in. I'm Rolene Marks. This is the Israel Brief, and we'll rock tomorrow.